Thanks, Michael. You give me a big name to live up to. So ultimately, we're going to be covering three things today. We're going to be talking about your profile, how to rank your profile, in other words, how do you show up at the top, and then we're going to cover how do you leverage the platform itself to drive traffic and customers to your business. So the first element that we want to cover is the profile. When it comes to your profile, in the preamble, we talked a little bit about the background and history. So Google My Business combines three elements of Google. It combines Google Local, which is the local element of the search engine that allows businesses in a given geography and territory to show up to people that are searching in that given geography and territory. So if you're searching for auto repair in Easton, you're going to find auto repair shops in Easton, not auto repair shops in Chattanooga, Tennessee, because Google makes sure that everything is relevant and adjusted. The second element of it is Google's social network, Google+. Google+ ties the person aspect to the searches and to helping people find the businesses. And the last aspect is Google Maps. Google Maps is when people are searching for something, whether they're on their Android phone or they just type something in the Maps app on their phone, they will be able to find a given business or a given geographic location. Google My Business sits on top of that and allows you to integrate with all three platforms in one place. So how do you do it? How do you create a Google My Business profile, and how do you successfully implement it for your business? So essentially what you want to do is you go to google.com/business and you go on, you log in, and you create your profile. It's going to ask you for 6 different pieces of information. 3 of them are just generic pieces of information about your business, and then the other 3 are more important. So one of those 3 is the description of your business. The description of your business allows you to have about 5,000 characters. So that's a pretty good amount of space to talk about your business. But the secret is, it's not about just talking about your business in the generic, but it's about talking about your business to your customers. So you want to make sure when you write that description that you make sure the description is relevant to your customers. It explains in depth what you do and how you're different than your competitors, and it drives them to a call to action. Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to email you? Or do you have some other mode of communication, like just having them drop by your store in order to get your customers to react? And the last aspect, in a more advanced sense, is what are the categories and words that you want people to find you under? If you don't have them in your description, then no one's going to be able to find you, because Google uses the semantics in your description to find out if you're relevant for that given category when someone searches for it. So, for example, if you're an auto repair shop and you want to show up for oil changes, you want to make sure that oil changes shows up in your description. So that covers the basics of your profile. I'll give everyone an opportunity for questions at the end if you have more specific questions about your profile. But once you create it, it's important that you get to that 100% complete mark and that you verify it. So Google asks every profile to be verified. That makes sure that no one scams the system and adds 100 businesses that don't exist. And it also protects you as the business owner so someone doesn't claim your business for you or a competitor tries to control your business. So Google asks you either verify it by phone or to verify it by postcard, depending on if your business already exists on the Google profile. So you want to make sure that when you create that, you verify that as soon as possible, and that you fill in all 6 categories of information and upload photos. Once you do that, you'll be at 100% complete profile. The second aspect that I want to talk about is how do you make that profile rank? So if you look at the screen that Michael had showed before for cupcakes, we're going to pull that up real quick. So if you search cupcakes in the Lehigh Valley, essentially it's going to bring you up with a result of who has cupcakes in the Lehigh Valley. So once you pull that up, you can see 3 different blocks up there. And what those blocks are is the Google local search results. you can see that there's 3 different businesses that come up natively, and there's also even more selections that you can look at as well. So if you click that, you can see that there's probably a half a dozen or even a dozen cupcake shops in the Lehigh Valley. All of those people are vying for that top spot, because if you get that first top 3 spot, you're going to show up in the search result, and if you get that top 1 spot, you're going to be the first one that people see. So there's 2 things I want you to take notice of. The first thing is when you take a look at the rankings, it shows the number of reviews you have, and it also shows where you are on the map. So this is the perfect example of the integration. Google's map is integrated with Google Local, and it's also, as we'll see later, integrated with the Google+ social media. So if you wanted to be that number 1 spot, what would you need to do? There's actually 2 different things. First is kind of an obvious thing. If you get a lot of 5-star reviews for your business, then that means that people like your business, and Google will demark that as a valid indicator that your business is successful. So if you see the second search result, Blondies, they have 11 reviews on an average of a 4.5 rating, so somewhere between 4 and 5. And that's great. That means that their business had 11 people that validated that their business is something that they like and want to go to. So Google's going to integrate that. But that's not it, because Google is very algorithmically based. So if they just had it reviews, then people would game the system and just get a whole bunch of fake reviews. So they do things to police fake reviews, but it's not just reviews, because you could be a very successful business, let's say that auto repair shop in Easton, but you're not very sophisticated, so you don't really know how to get reviews, and you never get reviews. But you're written up in the morning call, you're in all the business directories, and you do direct mails, so the direct mailer companies allow you to show up in their search results. And how Google measures that is called authority, and authority is measured in 2 different areas. The regular Google search results, which you're probably familiar with. Google measures authority by a ranking scale called PageRank. It's a 0 to 10 logarithmic scale. That means that the difference between 1 and 2 is 10 times the magnitude, just like the Richter scale for earthquakes. If you're measuring something on a logarithmic scale, it's not linear. So in other words, if you get twice as much, that's not moving from 1 to 2. It's actually 10 times as much, or it could be different variation based off the algorithm. So essentially, when Google's looking at that, that's the normal search engine algorithm. It's looking at your PageRank. But within the local search engine algorithm, it's using a similar type of ranking, but that's based off of not links and PageRank, but it's based off of a thing called citations. The idea behind citations is how many people cite your business. In other words, they mention the name, address, and phone number of your business on their website. So natural places where that would exist is Yelp. So imagine if you're a restaurant like the restaurant that we're sitting in today, if you're listed on Yelp, Yelp mentions your name, address, and phone number. And they're essentially a citation. So if you take kind of like a counter, they count as 1 on your citations. You might also be in other business directories. So let's just say they're in a 411 directory. They're in Yellow Pages. They're in Manta. They're in City Search. All of those create citations for your business. So what I'll show you real quick is how you look up how many citations you have. So we'll keep with the example of Blondies, right? So if I wanted to look up Blondies and see how many citations they would have, I would go and I would type quotation, which means that you're searching for exact match. And then I would put another quote to close it. So when I search for that, that's going to show me all the places where Blondies shows up. And that's the exact match. But what I need to do to make it relevant for local is I need to put in an address or phone number, so then I make sure that it's only finding Blondies based off of that specific location. So I'm just going to copy this address real quick, the Front Street address. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it in quotes. and that's going to give me an exact match search. So now you can see that that number decreased substantially. It went from originally the million search results to 12,000, but it actually didn't copy the full information, so I'll just tweak that real quick. Okay, there you go. So Blondie's has about 2,000 references to their business where they're getting cited. So you can see they're showing up on Foursquare, TripAdvisor, Yelp's fast food page, and findglutenfree.com. All of those places are mentioning the address and the business name, and most of them probably the phone number as well. So those are all citations. So if they wanted to increase their rankings, there's two things they can do. They can go out to all of their customers and they can get reviews. The second thing they can do is they can go to other business directories or other websites and ask them to mention their name, address, and phone number in order to gain citations. And if they're able to, on the aggregate, get more reviews and citations than the other businesses in the area, then they're going to come up first in the search result. So that kind of covers how you rank. So you have to keep in mind that ranking in Google's My Business is different than ranking in Google in general. So ranking in Google in general is a whole nother lecture that we're not going to cover today, and it's a much more sophisticated topic. But if you're a local business and most of your customers are within a 15 to 20 mile radius, just focus on local right now, because if you can make that successful, that'll drive enough business for you to be able to afford the more advanced versions of Google optimization. And frankly, if you're showing up on the maps and you're showing up on the local results, you might not even really need to do the more advanced versions of optimization, because that might give you enough customers to run your business as you really would want to. So the last element that we're going to cover is how do you drive traffic. So now that you know what the profile is, you know how to rank against your competitors, it's important to actually drive traffic to your business. So one of the things that Michael had showed you earlier is when you search for social media in the Lehigh Valley, you see these little links to Google Plus pages. And like I had said, Google Plus is a social network. So the goal of any social network is to have the most amount of relevant content for people that are looking for something. So on Facebook, there's lots of relevant content for people that are looking for photos, your friend's birthday, or what some of your friends have been doing over the weekend. In the same way, Google Plus's social network wants to be able to display relevant and timely information about events that are happening, new types of content or special promotions, or even if you're a restaurant, what's a new menu item that came out that week. So what they allow you to do through the Google My Business platform is access directly your business's Google Plus page. And what you want to do with your business's Google Plus page is three different things. First is you want to come up with a content calendar. So what are all the things that you're going to post over time relevant to your business? So for example, with Steve and Anita with their business, they might want to talk about some of the challenges with WordPress and why you can't just do it yourself. They might also want to talk about the importance of a strong user experience to get people to go from your website to call you on the phone. They might also want to talk to how do you create a call to action on your website. So what they would do is they would take a given month or a given quarter, they would come up with their posts ahead of time. They would maybe work with a copywriter or work with a voice specialist or a model and get that content all together. Once they have all that content together, then they're going to go to the second step. They're going to post. When you go to your Google My Business profile, there's a section called Share. And what you do is you just type in a blurb and you select what type of content, whether it's a link, it's a picture, or it's a YouTube video. Once you post, that's going to do two things. It's going to give you the option to select who you're posting to. So you can post to the public, you can post to your select group of Google Circles, which is people that you're connected with on your Google social network, or you can type in specific people that you want to reach. So of course, since you're trying to market your business, you want to post it public. But you might also want to post it to specific people that you believe would find that as relevant information. So maybe it's your customers if you came out with some kind of new product or service that's relevant to them. Once you do that, then it's going to come up online. And when it comes up online, then it's kind of like a race to make sure that you can get as many people as possible to share it. So that kind of goes into our third aspect, is you want to share the content. So now that you've got it posted to the public and your friends, you want to reach out to some of your friends either by email or phone or even on other social networks and say, please, can you share this information? And the more people that share it, the more people that visit the page, the more likely that Google is going to see that this is relevant and timely, and they're going to put it in the search results. So not only will you show up in Google plus the social network, you're also going to show up on Google in general because they see it as timely, relevant information. So if people are searching for something like that, they'll want to display it. So that kind of covers the three aspects of driving traffic. And in general, it's important that you think about it over a long haul, because if you just say, okay, I'm going to do this for a week, it's not going to be very effective. You need to do it over a month, over a quarter, over a year, because that content is going to build up. And the internet is kind of like an elephant. Like, once it exists, it just takes up all of the space, and it remembers everything. So your post from a year ago might still be relevant and might still show up. Your YouTube video might still show up 3 years from now. Or your menu item that you thought for just a week promotion might show up for a month, and it might get someone into your restaurant that is asking specifically for that new menu item that you added. So you can't just do it once and done. That covers the three major aspects of Google My Business. I want to now open it up for questions, because obviously we covered a lot of content and there's a lot more depth that we can go into, but at least you have the cursory idea. And the one thing I also want to leave off with is we developed a course on this. So for those of you that are interested, if I can get your business card at the end, I can give you the more information about the course when it's available, and I'll send you our 10-step checklist that covers all the things that I talked about in this talk. So, okay. Valerie, what would you consider the search result that you want to come up for?
Well, you see, now that's difficult because people are not going to be Googling Valerie Bittner. If someone's looking for talent, they're most probably going to be looking through a talent agency. Now, I tried to run a Google ad a couple of years ago, and they used as part of the keywords agency, and unfortunately, people were calling me, "Are you a modeling agency? I think my 2-year-old would be a great model." And they obviously didn't even go to my website. They just saw me in the Google search. So that's my challenge. I want it, when somebody is looking for talent, whether it be a model, actor, or voice artist, they're going to be Googling talent agencies Lehigh Valley. I want to rank with them.
Got it. All right, so you would say talent agencies Lehigh Valley. And since Google Local is very specific, I understand you want to rank for the whole Lehigh Valley, but what city, if you could just pick one, would be the best one, and then we can talk about the generics of the Lehigh Valley as
Bethlehem.
well. Bethlehem. All right. So we're going to see what happens when we search for talent and agency in Bethlehem. All right, so when we search for that, you can see the first search result that comes up is the 3 block of the Google local results. So that shows that Google is prioritizing people that are locally in that area over any other search results. So if you can rank in that, you're going to be doing extremely well. So you can see the top 3 is Pro Model, Accent Model, Talent Agency, and Media 5 Entertainment. So
and then I find it really interesting because Pro Model is no longer Pro Model, and Media 5 is a musician's agency.
Okay, so we'll cover some of those aspects in a second. But the question for you is, have you set up Google My Business for your business?
I have a Google Plus page. I didn't even realize there was a separate My Business. And then I have a twofold question. Right now, when I post the video to YouTube, I'm probably doing that very frequently. It automatically posts to my Google Plus page. Will that be the same for Google Business, or do I need to change that?
Okay, so this is a great question, great point of clarification. So in the beginning, we talked about how there's 3 different aspects of Google. There's the Google Maps, there's Google Local, and there's Google+. So one of the challenges that happened in the last 3 years is a lot of those, or all 3 of those were separate, distinct aspects of Google. So if you wanted to be on all of them, you had to be on all of them individually, and they weren't connected. That's still true to some extent. Google Plus is separate from Google Local and is also separate from the maps. But Google created a tool, which is Google My Business, that sits on top of those. So those are still 3 independent services that a consumer would access independently. But as a business owner, you can post to all 3 of them through the Google My Business platform. So what I would recommend is that you take your Google Plus login, you go to google.com/business, and then you create your Google My Business profile. That will take your existing information, and then it will populate it down into the maps and Google Local. So then you'll be able to show up in these top 3 results because now you have a local profile. Keep doing what you're doing with posting on YouTube and the Google Plus because that's very valuable. It's going to get you found. But in order to show up in those results, you have to have that Google Local profile.
And then lastly, like right now, if you have Facebook business, you can schedule your posts for the next month, which is fabulous because I can sit down, I can do my calendar of content, I can post it all and walk away for a month. Can you do that with the Google business? Or do you have to post physically every day?
So Google is very finicky with their APIs and different algorithms. Just if you wanted to post on Google itself, like I understand with Facebook, you can use Facebook's platform and schedule it itself. Google doesn't allow you to do that, but there's other third-party platforms that you can schedule it and it will
Like
send it out.
Hootsuite.
Exactly. So you'll have to use a third-party platform.
I work, can you hear me? I work by phone. My business is not local. I have clients all over the world. So I don't want local. That would limit me. So how do I put my work out there?
Great question. So the question was, my business is national or international, and we're just talking about local. How do I get my business out there? So there's a couple aspects of that. First is the goal of this platform, the Google My Business platform, is to focus on local business. So I would first say, well, okay, you can create a Google My Business platform for your local customers, but Google My Business might not be the right platform for you. If you have a national business, it's important that you market yourself on a national scale. Google has 2 different tools for doing that. One is what they call search engine optimization or Google Webmaster tools and being able to rank your business on a regular search. So if you look below those 3 results, everything below that is a regular Google search result. So if you have a national business, unfortunately, you don't have any special tools for you. You're out competing with all the other national players, but what you can do is you can optimize your website using what's called search optimization to make your website more friendly on the internet, have more people referring to you, and ultimately, in Google's eyes, have more authority. So when it looks for people that have the best, most relevant, most authoritative sites, it will bring you up. So that's one aspect. That can be very time-consuming and difficult depending on the amount of technical knowledge you have and the amount of time you have. The other aspect, which I would probably recommend for you, is you can use Google's advertising platform. There's 2 ways you can do it. One is the simple way, which is tied into Google My Business, which is Google AdWords Express, which is kind of like a watered-down version of Google AdWords that makes it very easy for you to get on and post a quick ad. The other aspect is Google Ads. So Google AdWords General allows you to create custom-tailored advertising. So if you want to just market in 3 cities instead of the whole country, you can do that. If you want to market at certain times of the day, you can do that. If you want to market against certain keywords, you can do that. So they really allow you to tailor your business and market it exactly how you want to exactly who you want to. But there is a big learning curve on that, so I do recommend that you pick up a book on Google AdWords for Dummies or something similar to that. We're going to be coming out with some more courseware, or if you have specific questions on Google AdWords, hit me up afterwards.
Hi, can you just talk about the impact of when a person is logged into their Gmail account or their Google Plus account versus not, and how their search history in a browser versus, how does that affect the results, and if, how that works?
Absolutely. So the question was, if someone's logged in to their Google or their Gmail account, how does that affect the search results versus other things? So I'm going to answer that from two perspectives. One is the perspective of the user or the customer of Google, so if I'm searching for something. The other aspect is from the business's perspective. So the first is from the consumer's perspective. From the consumer's perspective, Google has done something, and the whole point of the Google Plus social network platform and gathering all this data is to provide the highest quality search results or the most relevant search results. So if you're searching for a cigar bar, you want to find a cigar bar that's near you, and you want to find something that is a cigar bar and not a bar, like a wooden bar with cigars on it, right? So Google has to interpret language to understand that. And when you're logged in, what it does is it logs all of the data, assuming you give it permission. There's a way to turn it off, giving it permission. It logs all the data. So it looks at what websites you go to. It looks at what search results you do. And it looks at how you click between the different search results. So if you go to a cigar bar in Allentown, and then you click back, and then you go to another one in Bethlehem, and click back, and another one in Easton, it has that record that said that you went in a certain search result, you went to another website, and another search result, and another website. So it starts to get a feel of what you're trying to find, and what it does is it customizes the results based off of the previous information. So if you clicked on a page and then quickly jumped out of it, it would register that as a bounce and recognize that that might not have been the right thing you were looking for. So as you do more searches over time, Google tailors the results based off the information it has to give you more relevant search results. So what does that mean on the other side? On the other side, that means a few things. First, it means that not everyone sees the same search results. So if you're looking on Google and you want to be rank 1, you might be rank 1 when you look at it, but you might not be rank 1 when someone in California looks at it, or your nephew looks at it, or even a different one of your customers looks at it, because they have a different search result history, they have a different location, and they have different information that's going to tailor the search results. What's interesting is Google just recently started doing this in the last 3 to 5 years. And as they've done that, the difference between each individual person doing search results has started out, it was only a few percentage points in terms of the difference. And now it's in the teens or 20% of the search results are different based off of that information. So of course it's not going to be different if it has no data, but if it has a lot of data, it's going to be substantially different. So when you're planning your marketing, you have to keep in mind that logged in people are going to see different things. The other aspect of that is when you're planning your business in terms of marketing and data, there's a platform that Google has called Google Analytics. The Google Analytics platform allows you to see what's going on with the people that visit your website based off of people that come in from Google, people that come in from other sources, and people that come in from the advertising that you use from Google. And what's unfortunate is because of some antitrust laws in the European Union, Google hasn't been able to show when you're logged in that information back to you as a business. So that creates a couple different things to think about. First is you have incomplete data. So if you're looking at 100 people, 40 or 60 of those people in your analytics platform are not going to have data. So you might not have data on who came in from what source on what page and what keywords. So if you're, in the example we talked about before, trying to show up for a talent agency, but people are searching for voice actor, but they only searched for voice actor when they were logged in, you're never going to know that those 5 people search for voice actor because they were logged in. There's a couple ways to get around that, but that's very advanced, and we're not going to talk about that. But I really just wanted to cover the fact that you're going to have missing information. So just to summarize, on the consumer side, you get different search results. On the business side, you get different data.
Cut his mic. Now, can you talk a little bit about showing up on a phone search versus regular, or is it the same?
A couple things on the phone search. 2, first, Google recently did an algorithm update, so they have basically the things that look at websites from Google's perspective are called spiders. So they go and comb through and look at every single page and process that into the massive amount of data that Google has about all the websites. And they just came out with a new spider that differentiates between a regular website and mobile. So what that means is if you're not mobile optimized, which is what Steve had talked about, they build sites that are mobile optimized, you're not going to show up in the Google mobile search results because Google's job is to find websites that have a good experience, right? And if you're on your phone and the web page breaks every time you're on the phone, it doesn't make sense to show up a search result for that because in reality, you're not going to get any value out of that on your phone because the website doesn't work. So what's very important is you make sure your website is mobile optimized. There's 2 different ways to do that. You can have it responsive. So in other words, it automatically scales on a percentage basis based off of the size of the screen, or you can have breakpoints. So you have one for the computer, you have one maybe for the TV, you have one for the iPad, you have one for the Note phone, and you have one for the iPhone, and maybe you have one for a small little phone. And by having those breakpoints, it makes sure that every different device is seeing the best optimized version of your web page. The other aspect of that is that when Google search results come up on a phone, they take into account the relevant information that the phone is providing it. That is the location of the phone and the fact that it's a phone. So phone numbers allow you to click directly on them to call them. And if you're location relevant, that's coming into the search results information. So where the phone is affects where the search results are. In the same sense, if you use a map search, you're going to see things that are relevant on that map.
Okay. In closing, one, I think, important question is, what's the biggest mistake you see small businesses do as far as the internet's concerned?
So I think the biggest mistake that I see is there's so much stuff out there. Like I just did an hour about Google My Business, and I brought about 5 other platforms that Google has that may or may not be relevant for you. So the biggest mistake that I see is businesses just get overwhelmed by all the things that are out there, all the possibilities, and they either do one of 2 things. They do nothing, or they just try and pick one aspect of that and do only that aspect and ignore everything else. So my recommendation to overcome that challenge is 2 things. One is if you're the do-it-yourselfer and you want to grow your business yourself, you want to understand marketing, and you want to be that hands-on chief marketing officer, what you should do is learn as much as you possibly can. Get books, take online courses, do YouTube videos, and do everything you possibly can to learn as much as you can. And that's why Michael and I are going to be working together to develop as much content for business owners to help them be able to learn and take it on themselves. The other aspect is if you believe that you're not a marketer, you're not that hands-on person, and you want to focus on the operations, the finance of your business, and growing your business in other aspects, what you need to do is find a trusted partner, whether it's your web developer that's going to help you make your website as good as it possibly can be, whether it's someone like us that has deep knowledge of different platforms and can help you to optimize your business on certain platforms, or it's someone in the more advanced category that I talked about, whether you need a data scientist that you're going to bring on board onto your team. You want to have a search engine optimizer that's going to work for you directly. But you need to bring in a professional that's going to help you, because if you just sit where you are today, you're not going to get where you want to be.
Can you quickly go over your website and the training that you're doing for Google Plus and how people would get to that?
Sure. So if everyone gives me their information, I'll give you more information about it. But in general, we are based off of this platform called Udemy, Udemy. And that's a platform for online courses. So there's other people that make courses. We make courses on there. And right now we have one course on how to use LinkedIn to get new customers or how to become a LinkedIn power user. So if you either search for my name on Udemy or if you search for my business partner, Steve Berner, that's Boerner, you'll be able to find our courses on there. You can also go to our website, Gen Y Consultants, gen-yconsultants.com, and you can find my email address on there. Just send me an email with any questions you might have, or if you want me to send you a link to our LinkedIn group course, or if you want to get access to our course on Google My Business, which will be coming out. We finished it on Sunday, but Udemy has an approval process that takes a few days before they post it publicly. So I'll be able to send that out. And everyone who's here that I can get their information, I will send you out the 10-step checklist on how to use Google My Business for success.